Hi beekeepers, my honey is wet. What am I gonna do? You're taking all of your honey off of the hives, you're really excited to harvest, and if you're on top of things, you've checked the moisture level, and if it's the case that you found it's a bit high, what are you gonna do? Let's look at a few options. Number one, if there's not a lot, just eat it as quick as you can, give it to friends, give it to people who've helped you out through the season. If your hives are at someone's location, or in my case, I've got a community garden nearby, give some jars of honey to all the gardeners, keep the people around the bees happy. Option two, maybe it ferments, maybe it doesn't. This is some of the uncapped honey from last year. You can see it's really bubbly. There's this weird kind of, I don't know what happened here, if it's like just a small sliver crystallized. You could see how wet it is by how quickly it runs. If I taste it, it's honey, but it's tangy. It's definitely not mead. That is, of course, another thing you could do with it. So there's a bunch of the mead I have on the go from previous years. A little honey makes a lot of mead, so I'm not really looking to make more right now. I've got more than I've been able to drink. I read a story recently where someone was actually searching out fermented honey. Maybe you can develop a market for it. If nothing else, you don't really need to throw it away unless it's like really something gone crazy with it, if it was really super wet. But if it's just slightly wet, ferments a little bit, it probably won't kill you. Probably. Option three, you can dry it. So that's what this setup here is that I've tried to get going. I have the dehumidifier pointed right at a stack. It's blowing warm, dry air directly into the hive stack. The wet hives are on top of the other boxes on the side to hold them up, create some space for the air to go in. There's a bucket that catches any dripping honey. There's actually quite a bit that's dripped in there. Air comes out at the top. So if you have something that can give you a temperature and humidity reading, that's really helpful. Obviously, the warmer it is, the quicker water moisture is going to be able to evaporate. And having a dehumidifier going is usually going to increase the temperature of the room. Yesterday when I started this, it was 21 in here and about 55. And we could see I turned the dehumidifier off so it didn't have the noise during the video. It's at 48 right now, but when it was still going, it had gone down to 45% relative humidity, which is really more than you need if you're going to wait a really long time. And the about 50% is going to take it down to a good level. A little more lower than that, like 45, 40 into the 30s, is just going to make it happen that much faster. So the best way to dry honey is in little tiny amounts. That's why keeping it in the comb and doing the drying before you've extracted is the best way to do it. Trying to dry a barrel of honey is just not going to be a good time. The top layer will dry, the rest is going to stay wet unless you're just constantly mixing it up. In this case, I don't know if you can tell, but this is all been uncapped. I have the cappings here that I've taken off of the comb. If you're going to try and dry capped honey, it's just not going to work as well. I know you've heard if it's capped that means it's good. I'm telling you, people have lied to you. I've checked these combs, they're wet. If you live in Arizona, that's probably not a problem that applies to you, but if you live in a humid place, you're going to be thinking about it. This year, it's been really wet, lots of rain, so it's been driving me crazy, and I've been taking all these capped combs off the hive thinking I've got a great harvest, then realizing I got all this extra work to do. So that's how it is. If you don't already have a refractometer, it's highly recommended. It's just such a useful, peaceful information to have. You could sell honey to your customers with confidence, knowing that it's not going to ferment on them in a few weeks or months. And it's also just super useful to you to know where the honey's at in the hive. If you're doing a hive inspection, maybe you could get the honey off earlier. So this was just the last little bit of honey left in a bucket that I didn't get to because I have a 1-year-old and life's crazy. But the winter heat was on that made the house dry enough that we didn't quite get a rock, but it's kind of like honey taffy. It's not that it's crystallized, it's just, maybe it is crystallized too, but it's just really, really thick. Maybe I should start selling honey candy too as a unique product. It's kind of nice.